prison, parking cars for stars. And at 6 a.m. I was down at the farm, and I never was the one in charge. Well, I throw respect to the kids flipping burgers down at the mini mall. This ain't no dream come true, begin with handouts from Mom and Paul. My mind keeps slipping back to the times, help me recognize the signs. Maybe I can see it next time. Oh, yeah, I can still feel it. Oh, yeah, I can still feel it. Oh, yeah, I can still feel it. Oh, yeah, I can still feel it.
We're kind of back into the the nitty gritty of what makes music and humans interacting such a great thing. It just feels like like this lady came up to me a couple Dirty Gems gigs ago that we played, and this lady came up and she was like, "Can you feel the energy?" I was like, I think I can.
Hi, and welcome to And If Love Remains. I'm your host, Mike Levitt, and I have on the line today, somebody I'm very excited to talk to, Mr. Kris Rodgers from Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems. He's the front man, the vocalist, the keyboardist, man after my own heart. I'm just super excited to have him on the show. We're going to talk about his new album, talk about being a musician, and just all things that are going on. Thanks for being on the show, Kris.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So I got to tell you how I ran into you. The drummer in my band, his name is Patrick Ferguson. He was listening to underground radio and or underground rock, I think it's called, on Spotify, and he sends me this track called "I Can Still Feel It." And he's like, "You got to check this thing out. We got to play this thing, man."
Oh, right on.
And so he sends it over to me, and man, it is so great. So I had to give a shout out to Patrick for introducing me to you guys and what you guys are doing. So, but before we get into like the album and what you guys are doing now, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and tell me a little bit about your background.
Oh, well, thanks, Patrick, too. Well, I'm from Maine. I grew up in Maine, for the most part anyways, and about a half hour outside of Portland, which is one of the only cities in Maine, really. And I grew up on a lake, kind of in the middle of nowhere almost. And I just started playing music when I was a little kid. I always had a big thing for playing music and joined a band in high school, as the story goes, Yeah. And I've had my head down doing it ever since, I guess. I'm 36 now, so I've been doing it for a while.
Right on. Tell me about the piano, because I'm a pianist. I had a lot of pianists on my show, but it's funny. Like, I started thinking about it, like, and I love the great frontman pianists, Elton John, Billy Joel, Little Rich. I mean, they're just so great. But there's not that many, and we talk about why. But why? What drew you to the piano at an early age?
It's a weird question, because I wonder that sometimes too myself. I went to a daycare that had a toy piano at it, just like this little tiny thing. And I used to just kind of pick Disney songs out on it when I was really little. And I'm not really well. I'm just like one note here and there,
Right.
And when I was 7 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And at the same exact time, I was bugging my parents for piano lessons because of this toy piano at the daycare. And I think that they felt guilty that I had just gotten diabetes, so they said yes to the lessons. and that's when I started taking
the things you had to do, Kris.
I know, yeah, I know. It was worth it though.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I just started taking lessons, kind of, from the lady down the street, kind of thing, half-hour lesson every week. And then it just progressed when I got to high school, and I joined like the jazz band and all that kind of stuff, and did the all-state jazz stuff, and ended up going to college for music and jazz and music business. And now, yeah, just been doing it really ever since. I've always kind of known that I wanted to do music.
Yeah.
So I've just always done it. It's been like every weekend in college, I was playing gigs instead of partying and stuff.
That's good, man. Making money and staying out of trouble. That and having a good time. That's the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was still going to the parties.
Right.
It's a different role.
It's a little bit different as a performer, though.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And like playing, so I started taking, piano lessons when I was young too. And, and I have a pretty classical background. And then grew to love, rock and jazz and all that stuff. Tell me about like just like playing the piano. Did you learn kind of classic, hey, handing and churning, all that stuff, and then what kind of drew you to what you're doing now and the jazz rock stuff?
Yeah, my first piano teacher was a classical piano teacher for sure. I think a lot of people that take piano when they're younger have that.
Yeah,
And I liked it at the time, but the second I found out that I could play songs on the radio, it was over for me in
right.
classical. We moved when I was I don't know, 12 or 13, and we moved from upstate New York. We only lived there for like a few years, but we moved back to Maine. And when I got to Maine, I had a piano teacher pretty much all through high school who let me play whatever I wanted, within reason, And so, I would learn just like songs that were off the radio, and different songs that like had come out and were on like MTV, stuff like that at
Yeah,
the time. And then, once you join a band, then all of a sudden the songs on the radio don't matter anymore, and you got to jump like 30 years in the past to start playing songs from like the 60s and 70s. And that, like, all the music from the 60s and 70s was really what grabbed me more than anything else. Like, at the time, it was bands like Aerosmith and Led
uh-huh,
Zeppelin and like the Stones and stuff like that. But as I got older and especially looked for more piano music, I started getting way more into like the Beatles and, Leon Russell. And I was always into Billy Joel and Elton John as a kid, but just like
yeah,
branching out kind of beyond that, like the Beach Boys, and just anything with crazy cool piano stuff, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis.
right. That's yeah, that's pretty. I was going to ask you a little bit about your influences because I mean, you definitely have a strong. That's one thing I loved about when I was listening to your album that drew me to it is it's kind of a modern take on those great 70s singer-songwriter days, when you had really innovative and cool ideas, kind of wrapped in this, fun party style rock and roll. It's really it was a great time, and you really kind of do great homage to it in what you guys are doing.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, like a Joe Cocker record or something like that is a great example of that. I think you've got a lot of styles on a lot of those old records, and I think for us, as far as that stuff goes, it's just because this time around we had everybody in the band writing songs,
Mm,
so it was a little bit tricky for me to like give up control a little bit of the songwriting process. But as soon as I kind of, I don't think anybody else noticed that. I hope not. But as soon as as soon as I gave up the reins a little bit, everything really started to flourish, and we started coming up with some cool stuff.
oh, that is cool. Tell me a little about the Dirty Gems. How do you guys get together? Who are these guys that you're playing with?
Well, the guys in the band right now that are currently in the band is I'll start with the drums, Craig Sala, because him and I have played in a million bands together. He plays in the Kurt Baker band and played with the Connection. He plays with all of our friends, Jeff Palmer and Brad Marino, and just this. We have the whole crew of New England guys up here that Craig's played with, and he's been with the Dirty Gems, I think, the longest now, in almost like 10 years. And then on bass, one of the songwriters too, Ryan's been in the band for 5 or 6 years, something like that. He wrote a lot of "She Likes to Party" and
Yeah,
"Tortuga," which is like a Latin sort of bossa nova thing.
that's a really cool tune. That's an interesting cool tune that you guys got there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he just sent once in a while Ryan will just send me stuff and it's like all done already pretty much. Just needs lyrics. And that Tortuga was one of them. And Tom Hall's a guitar player and he also did a lot of writing on Tortuga, but he also wrote Don't Look Back. And yeah, he's like just we've all kind of had a huge part in coming together to write the record and just try to like push boundaries, maybe not boundaries musically as far as like musical history goes, but boundaries for us as a band.
Yeah. Well, it was cool listening to it because, and again, I want to, it reminded me a little bit, listening to like, um, back in the late 80s and listening to like the Stray Cats and remembering how just cool rockabilly was and just how you could do some really fun and great stuff, with the Stray Cats. And this kind of reminded me of the same thing. Like it reminded me how amazing and great that 70s 80s time was. Like I have to go back to that because it was so fun to listen to and so refreshing. You don't hear the chord changes anymore. Like not
Mm.
everything was 1 5 6 4. you
Right,
know
right, yeah.
it's really it's fun. It's fun to play, it's fun to listen to, and it sounds like you guys are having a great time doing it. I mean, it's I'm super impressed with it, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and I for at least for me because I've been on all the records. I'm the only one that's been on every single one of them, I guess, obviously. But I as a piano player, I think a lot of times it's easy to maybe play too many chords. It's like it's hard to describe, but like when you look down at the
Yeah.
piano, it's all like staring you in the face, and you can see sort of like all the things that might be harder to see because like a guitar or a bass is like a pretzel. It's like you've got everything laid out, but it's all in some weird order. And you have to like make these weird patterns to make everything work. But the piano is like how we base everything music theory wise and music, everything's based off the piano. So it's easy to do things like move things around a little bit when you probably shouldn't do it because you can just see you can see it and you're like, oh, that'd
Yeah.
be cool. And then it sounds like a little bit, I don't know how to describe all this, but Elton John is really good at doing this. Not he doesn't do it too much. He does it really well.
Yeah.
Um, and I for a long time did it too much. So I would have like 13 14 different chords and songs and stuff and it would be just like
That's
I think that it would sound fine, but as far as like playing
progressive pop rock kind of.
yeah, it's like it was way more kind of like proggy power pop or something like that, like
Yeah.
70s power pop than really. I mean, it was great. I love to do it, but these songs we made a pretty conscious effort to like slim down the chord progressions and make them more simple and make everything more like a sing along kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that we did that because the songs are a lot easier to play. That's one thing. But the other thing was that it just allowed so much stuff to come through on the song because we had so much room to do stuff with.
Right.
And it
And that,
really,
by the way, that it's funny you say it's easier to play. The cool thing about doing stuff that's, quote, easier to play is that you can like be creative in that space.
right. Yeah, totally. And it used to just be like all of us kind of white knuckling every gig, trying to get every little lick in line right. And, harmonies. And we'd have like 3 guitar parts and 1 guitar player and like three keyboard parts and me with my keyboard and I've got to sing the song too and just like stuff like that and just made everything just a little bit trickier and harder, especially going on the road if we had to find a fill in for somebody or if somebody couldn't do it. That's a lot more things to learn and have to kind of keep up with. And so yeah, this record, like She Likes to Party, I think there's a little bridge section that has a few different chords, but other than that, I think the whole song's 2 chords. I Can Still
Yeah.
Feel It is like it's like a G kind of boogie thing for all the verses and the choruses, and just has like a
Right. Then you got that key change, which is dope.
oh right, yeah, but and even that is still the same chords.
Right.
just to repeat.
Right. It's great.
So it's like, all that kind of stuff. And that's what hit songs have. I think a lot of the biggest hit songs have more subtle things. They're not all "Stairway to Heaven." So we just kind of took that approach, or I took that approach too, just as far as writing and doing stuff. Just to, I wouldn't say to dumb things down, but it's just more to kind of settle into our space with it and not
Gotcha.
push anything or be like too contrived about, we should, because that happens a lot too. I think when people write songs, you think, this isn't good enough. I should do more. We should put more stuff in here. And then that thing is the thing that makes the song just too much to be listenable.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's really interesting. And
Like,
and
I
it
think,
does it can take away from the essence of what you're trying to say is of the song itself, the hook, the lyrics, like whatever you're trying to like bring out, it becomes, the package becomes more interesting than the song itself.
right, for sure. Yeah, yeah. And, there's like the mentality of the guys in the Dirty Gems. We all kind of differ on our approach to music, but a lot of it, a lot of the things that we all like really agree on, and really not like we don't fight or anything like that, but just a lot of the things that we all really have in common is that sort of thing, like just like actually playing the tunes and being able to do whatever the tune is with just 4 people or 5 people, whatever it may be.
Right.
And if you have to dumb it down or strip it down, I should say, still keeping the essence of the tune in there so that it's still the same song, still has the same energy. It's just a little different arrangement.
So at the heart of you guys feel like you're a live band that's playing songs, as opposed to like the Beatles in their late days.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that, there's our biggest strength as a band, I think, is that because um, we're all full-time musicians and stuff. And I play in different bands up here to make money. And so does Ryan and Tom, and Craig plays with different bands too. We all play pretty much like 200 gigs a year or so doing stuff, even if it's not the Dirty Gems. So when we come together, and we're usually, we're together quite a bit, but we all kind of know what the deal is, know what each other are going to do. We've played so many gigs and shows together that we just kind of have everything down as like a, we just kind of know what the other ones are going to do before it happens. So that helps quite a bit too.
Yeah. So we're talking to Kris Rodgers of Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems. Their newest album, Still Dirty. You got to check it out. You got to go to krisrodgers.com. Check out the album. It is a lot of fun. Everything about it, like I said, it's nostalgia and it's new at the same time. I love it. Where talk to me about, now obviously this isn't your first album. Where is this in your catalog? Like, tell me about the history of the Dirty Gems a little bit.
Well, we put our first EP, I guess you could call it, out in 2011, which is a long time ago now. Seems like it was just me.
COVID
and
time reduces all time. It changes.
Yeah,
everything.
right. Yeah, that's the before time. Yeah,
right.
And it was that. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all right though. It's in the. I wouldn't mind this record being in the past, I guess. But yeah, it was just a 3-piece album or EP, and it was piano, bass, and drums. And we kind of were going for like a 60s piano pop throwback album. So we recorded almost everything live, I think, and at the studio called The Cave in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And that's all. We just put it out, but it's very dated sounding and has like a lot of old school mid 60s kind of tempos and song chord progressions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the first kind of proper release was well, I guess it's another EP, but some people call it a full length. I don't know. It's got 8 songs, so take what do.
Yeah,
you can call it what you want.
Yeah. We're modern. What's an album today anyway?
Well, yeah. And that was called Headlines, and that was the first time that we got played on like Sirius XM radio and stuff like that. And little Steven Van Zandt sort of took notice of us then, I think. And then we had a few little like singles that came out that were also part of a record called "Losing the Frequency" that came out in 2017. And also Wicked Cool. We got lucky, kind of a split scenario with Losing the Frequency. We had a record label from Boston put the record out called Rumbar Records, but Wicked Cool bought the publishing, so they were doing like publishing stuff for it.
Okay.
While the
So that's where you started to get your relationship started with little Stevie.
Yeah. And I had also played on other songs that he had featured on the station, and the first song that I was on that got played on the station was a song called "7 Nights to Rock" by The Connection, and that's a cover of an old. I want to say it's Moon Mulligan is the guy that wrote the original "7 Nights to Rock."
Okay.
It's like a blues song. Nick Lowe covered it though too. I think
All right.
that was where they got their version of it, but yeah, so, and also the Kurt Baker Band is another band I used to play with that was featured quite a bit back then on Sirius XM, and Kurt is still featured a lot because he's on Wicked Cool Records too. But anyways, yeah, so kind of, I don't know, fast forward even more in the future, and I don't know, I sent Dennis is his name at Wicked Cool and Sirius XM. I sent him a couple covers that we were going to be putting out, and this was 2017 or 18, I want to say, yeah. And
yeah,
they were into the covers. One of the covers was a song that nobody had ever heard, so it didn't really sound like a cover. It's called Every Little Crack, and it's by a Swedish band. So nobody in the States really knows the song or anything like that. And
that's
Little Steven,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I, of course, know the original one. It was sent to me by somebody in Europe a long time ago, saying that we should play it, and I love it, and we started playing it like immediately. But yeah, Little Steven had a couple notes on it that just wanted to change a couple things, but he said like he really liked the song and he'd love to put it out as a single, and so that was the first thing that we did with Wicked Cool.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, it was great because I mean, like I sent it to the Underground Garage radio station like as a done song, saying, "Hey, we're gonna put this out next week. Hope you like it. If you want to play it, I would love that. But no pressure."
You're right.
And and the Dennis, who's the producer at the Underground Garage, said, "Hey, did you check your email?" And I hadn't seen it. Of course, I like never check my email in time. And he said, go check your email if you haven't checked it. So I go check my email, and it was an email from Little Steven just saying how much he liked the song and all this and that.
Oh, that's great.
So it was cool, yeah, and it's just kind of progressed through from that. When we did this record, I send Little Steven all the demos, and he goes through at least like, I don't know, it must have been like 6 or 7 of them, the strongest songs that we thought could all be singles, and went through like with a fine tooth comb and just kind of critiqued them a little bit and gave us some pointers, and a lot of stuff that it's like hard to say how much it's kind of intangible stuff a lot of the time. Like he didn't change the way the arrangement of some of the songs were, but he would do little things like, for example, we have like a Motown song called "Don't Turn Around," and Little Steven just he sends us back like voice memo kind of like MP3s of just him like listening to the songs and playing along and just giving pointers and stuff. And he changed the key of the chorus for that song, so the verse is in one key and the chorus is in a different key, and we had it just all in the same key when I sent it to him. So it's like little things like that.
So it just adds a little energy to the track, and
and it's like that's almost like producer stuff, like just how to really like put cherries on top of the sundae and make it, push it to the next level. So that's a lot of the stuff that he was sending back to us, like maybe cut this intro by a couple bars and just to make it punchier and come in quicker. Just little things like that. It goes a long way. I don't know if you'd be surprised to know that, but it's a big deal. Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be, like the details that go into like a final production of a tune. Like you think, 3 chords in a dream, but there's a real art to like putting together a track that is not just viable but stands out against the rest of the pack, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, as the artist too, it's like sometimes I feel like I don't mix my own records either because I feel too close to the music at that point, and it's just like my objectivity is just gone.
Yeah.
I've no idea really. Like when I, all of us in the band, when we pass the record off to be like mixed and mastered and it's all done and everything, we're like I know the moment that it happens, we're all just thinking like, well, here we go. It's like all this work we put in, we're just gonna ship it off, and it's just gonna be, we'll see what happens. That's kind of like the
Right.
deal, because you put so much into it.
Yeah.
And by the time you're done with it, it's like I don't know what a comparable feeling would be. Maybe like your 18-year-old kid going to college and just dropping them off or something.
Right.
and like hoping it works out. I hope your kid doesn't like get into any fights or like go to parties or like do anything crazy. But
you're like, just stay in your dorm all day.
Yeah, but you also have like no control over it.
Right. right. It's now out in the world for the world to. And by the way, it's funny. I've talked to a lot of musicians, and there's this like, it is a weird thing. When we talk about performances or anything, like there is a relationship between the song, the composer, the songwriter, the musician who's performing, and then the audience that's listening. Like there is this like weird relationship where the song kind of belongs to everybody, and through that process we were able to like it's a way that it's the way that we communicate musically, and the audience really, whether it's listening on the radio or listen or in a live show or whatever it is, like there's that relationship that the song kind of becomes theirs as much as it becomes anybody else's.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me personally, like I had lost some of that a little bit before the pandemic hit. Like I was super jaded, like I talked about before, being, we're all in the band professional musicians up here in Maine, and the grind of doing that, I've been doing it for 10 years now, or a little over 10 years, and I had become really jaded. Like it's hard to describe, but the easiest way to describe it is like when someone would ask me to play Don't Stop Believing, I would do it, but I would be really annoyed by it. Like same
Right.
with like Brown Eyed Girl or
Right.
anything by Jimmy Buffett. I still feel that way about Jimmy Buffett, I think. But unless it's me and I'm on an island drinking a margarita, like I don't want to hear it.
Right. Have somebody else play it.
Yeah. If I'm in that exact situation, I would gladly take it all. But
Right.
but yeah, and over the first like 2 months of the pandemic, I don't think I touched my piano or did anything as far as music goes. I just like didn't
That's
sing
interesting.
anything, didn't
Yeah.
play anything. I might have done some like mixing stuff because I love to mix, but I definitely didn't play. And over the time period of the pandemic, I started to like kind of come back into myself and start to appreciate those little things like human interaction and all that kind of stuff. And I also got to the point where I felt like I was just singing to a brick wall a lot of the nights. Like I wasn't getting any energy back from the crowd ever. And even when I wasn't, just whatever. I wasn't into it. And I don't know what happened over the pandemic really, but like I sort of transformed that whole mentality. And now, I've been playing. I played last year too, and this year I've noticed, and I hope this continues because I think part of it is everybody else as well because of the pandemic. But I feel a genuine energy now from everybody that we play for, and I think that they really missed having live music. But I think also that there's a lot of us, musicians out there who maybe weren't having as good a time as it looked like we were having, and now
Yeah.
we're kind of back into the the nitty gritty of what makes music and humans interacting such a great thing. It just feels like like this lady came up to me a couple Dirty Gems gigs ago that we play at like a Lobster Shack, but we play a lot of songs off of our record and stuff too. And we played for like 3 hours. And this lady came up and she was like, "Can you feel the energy?" I was like, I think I can.
Yeah. By the way, that is wild. It's it's almost like a reset in a sense. Like you become so used to the energy that it deadens you, and then all of a sudden, like not having it, it's going cold turkey like we all did, us musicians. It was wild. Like not being able to play, not being able to oh man. And I to this day, I remember the first live gig that I did, after the pandemic. And it was like, whoa, man, I totally forgot what this was all about.
Yeah, it was like I didn't even know if I'd be able to like it had been I think 2.5 months I didn't have a gig because it was up here in June all the outside Lobster Shack places opened and we had some gigs and the like I didn't even know if I would remember how to play like the songs, and of course like I've played those songs like a bazillion times, so it was fine.
Right. Right. But it is. There's that nervous energy. By the way, there's something to that too. Like that nervous energy isn't a bad thing. It just is. It's but you can lose it, and you lose your edge. I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and even that feeling like once you start, halfway through that first gig, when you realize that you can still do it, and then you get you get a little confident and excited and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure when they were, but there was a few gigs where like I hadn't played better than that in a long time, just from being, so excited to, to be there and have people, especially this year, because people, once the restrictions were lifted, people at the bars that we were playing at could get up out of their seats and dance.
Yeah. Oh man, it makes a big difference, huh?
Yeah, and last year they couldn't do that, so it was kind of like playing cocktail hours all the time last year.
Right.
Which is like fine, but if you're playing some like kind of rock and stuff, it gets a little bit weird. Just vibe wise, it's a little weird. I hate when there's like one person there and the only songs we have left are like some GNR song or something like that. It's just like you're just gonna blow this person out. Like we're gonna like throw them up against the back wall with the amps and stuff.
Here we go. Oh, that's funny. That's great. So, again, talking to Kris Rodgers of Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems. You have some gigs coming up here later this fall. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting back on the road, and we're playing up in Portland. If anybody's like in Portland for some reason, a little bit here and there before that. But our first kind of club gig is up in Portland at the place called Sun Tiki Studios. It used to be an old like tanning salon. And they turned the tanning salon rooms into practice space rooms.
Okay.
And there's a huge room in the middle of it, and it has like a stage and all that kind of stuff. And they do like killer shows there. It's really cool. So we're doing a show there, and we're also doing in Boston. We're doing David Bash's International Power Pop Festival. Which is PA's Lounge or Union Tavern. I can't remember what the name of that place is. They changed. It used to be PA's Lounge and now it's Union Tavern, or the other way around. I can't remember. It's just been so long. I can't remember. And then the big one, which is like my favorite place to play in the country, I think, is we're playing in Ridgewood, New Jersey live at Drew's house. And this guy Drew Ekman just makes his living room into like into a venue, basically.
Wait, does he put those up on YouTube from time to time?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, he's had like some pretty.
Because I think I've seen a couple of. It's striking a memory of something like that. Like I've seen some stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he had like some sort of. I want to say like a feature on like some sort of news program or something.
Okay.
Talking about it or something too. But yeah, he's had like the Zombies play there.
Yeah.
And I know like Jesse Malin plays there quite a bit. We've played there before, but it's such a good time because he really just opens up his whole house. and it's kind of like a potluck dinner sort of thing that goes on. So
Oh,
everybody
that's
that like comes to the show, or at least a few people, anyways, that come to the show are bringing food dishes.
how
And
cool is that?
yeah, and he like takes all the furniture out of his living room, and of course, like his living room like looks out over. I want to say it's like a lake or something, and it's all glass, like wall kind of thing. So the band is up against that, and we look back at the audience, but the audience sees like the band and this beautiful scene out the window and all that kind of stuff. And he just puts folding chairs all throughout the living room. I want to say there was like 50 people in there the
Oh,
last time that
fun,
we
man.
played there. Yeah, it's such a weird concept in a lot of ways, like especially when you're driving up, you're like, what, this can't be it, because it's just a neighborhood.
Where's the parking?
Yeah, it just seems like a little counterintuitive, but once you get in there and set up and everything, Drew's a really great guy, and he has bands himself too. That he has his own band called X-Men. Uh, and it's so awesome. The people that go there are very receptive to all kinds of music, and they all kind of like, I think a lot of them even do their homework and like listen to the bands before they come, even if they don't know the band. Like, it's such a cool
Yeah.
experience. So that's actually the first place I booked once we got stuff situated again. But yeah, if you're ever like in the New Jersey area and he's having a show, or you have like a chance to play there or anything like that, like do it, because it's so
Yeah.
cool. Like
It
we've had such a
sounds
good
like a
time
cool
there.
experience. It sounds like a cool experience. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Um, I wanted to ask you a little bit about like being a musician, and not necessarily like the pandemic thing is a whole other thing, and maybe we'll talk about that too. But like being a musician today, as far as it comes to like, um, you know, getting yourself out there, being profitable, all of those kinds of those things. It's so much different than it was, when I started, or about years ago. It used to be about finding a label, getting some deal, record deal, and you trying to make it. It's so much different now, where you almost have to come pre-made. But
Mm.
I'm just curious about like your philosophy. Like, what is, how are you guys trying to manage the business part of the music business?
Yeah, well, we're in a lot of ways we're like almost like a punk band where we do a lot of stuff ourselves.
Yeah,
Um, when I 2000, I want to say like 2010, 2009, 2010, something like that. When I was in like my high school band that I had in college band, and we put records out and all that kind of stuff, and they were good records, and we had radio play, and we cared about it and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna say it like it was just some band that happened real quick. But it was like 10 years of doing stuff. And we played like all over the place. The band was called Highway Jackson, and we were all like, high school buddies and stuff. And, we had like a records mastered and stuff by like Grammy Award winning mastering engineers and all this stuff. So we did that for a long time, and I was just the singer in that band. And when the band broke up, I didn't really know what I was gonna do, because I didn't even have a piano anymore or a keyboard. I had kind of just like gotten rid of them because I hadn't played it in a while. In the band I was in didn't have any keyboards or anything, which sounds crazy now to say that.
right.
Like I'm sitting next to a baby grand piano right now. It's like, but the first thing that kind of happened was I met like kind of a bunch of punks, like pop punk punks,
Okay, yeah.
and joined really a punk band playing keys, like within a year after my old band breaking up. And
Yeah.
I just kind of like I started playing. I got a keyboard, a really cheap keyboard again to start, because I was like, well, I can't play a guitar, and if I want to write songs, I got to get a piano and just whatever start using that. So I started playing with all these punk bands as just a thing, because I had friends and stuff that were in the bands, and started playing in all these punk bands. But I learned a ton from the punk scene, because they do everything by themselves, and the punks, like punk music, never stopped doing vinyl. Like they were doing vinyl the whole time. And so that was like the biggest thing because like 2010, I was like, wow, vinyl, really? We got a vinyl. We're putting this on vinyl for real. And
Wow.
and it was like so cool though. So I, and of course I get like my first record player, which sounds ridiculous too because I was like 25, 24, 25.
Oh no, yeah.
When I at first I didn't even know how to operate it.
It's so right. It's so funny. Like I remember, growing up, my dad had a great, big record player, and we, play all the tunes and everything on that thing. And then, for decades, there was no need to have a record player, and now it's like you got to have one again.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah,
it's such a cool experience.
I can't. I wish that I had. I don't know. It's cool. I don't have any childhood memories of like listening to records, but the memory I have of like listening to my first records, I have like, they're pretty vivid because I was so old when it happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember like the first time, I think it was like a Van Halen record or something. I was like, oh, this sounds pretty sick on a turntable.
Right.
Especially like synthesizers, like anything with like Foreigner or something like that. Just any of those classic rock bands that had big fat like analog synthesizers. Just I didn't realize how much vinyl really enhanced that stuff. But yeah, so like playing with all those punks and stuff, and they put vinyl out, but they all had these like little labels too, like just these guys who would put the records out for them. And and it wasn't really for them. It'd like split the cost or something like that. But all that, so with the Dirty Gems, when I started the Dirty Gems, the first CD we had, like I made all the packaging for it and stuff and like burnt all the CDs and like, I got these like little cardboard like CD holder things and like glued the artwork to the front of it.
DIY, man.
Yeah, all that stuff. And like, it wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but I do think that there's like an aspect that you can take from that community, and like they just put stuff out. Stuff just comes out. It doesn't really matter so much that it's not like shrink wrapped with like glossy, art on the front. They just put it out, and the next, they use that as like a building block for whatever the next thing is. And same with like they tour so much too. All the punk bands and out there, they tour like nonstop. And of course they play like basement shows, and they play house parties, and they play
they play anywhere.
Yeah, but at least at the time of my life when I was doing that stuff, being in like Milwaukee in a basement, and it's like 98 degrees in this basement in like July, playing these shows and stuff, it was a really great experience to have. As like a 36-year-old, I'd probably be really grumpy about it. No AC and all hot and stuff.
There's a time for that, man. Time and
exactly,
place.
Yeah. Like sleeping on like camping pads, on someone's living room floor and all that. But it really helped me to figure out a way to do stuff, because like a lot of times when you're in a band and you're playing and writing songs and putting music out, it seems like a mountain that you're trying to climb, and it's really hard to envision yourself kind of finishing whatever it is that you're finishing and putting it out there. So I do think that the punk scene taught me a ton about touring and just in general about putting music out, and also too just about how long it takes to get something established. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people never put their music out because they always think it's just not quite ready, and in a lot of those situations, it's never going to get better than what it is. And if you just put it out, then it's not bad, but you can kind of people can listen to it. They can see that you're doing stuff, and you can move on to the next thing,
which will be better.
Be better. Yeah. Cause you'll learn so much from putting that out. Like I learned a lot having to do my own artwork and like, doing all that kind of stuff. I learned that I shouldn't do my own artwork.
By the way, that's a valuable lesson to be able to give that stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't have been happier to do it either. But all that stuff is really huge, and booking shows, and I know it's all, for me, it was the punk scene that showed me how to do all that. I'm sure there's other ways that, other genres, and I'm sure like metal has a similar vibe, but it's a cool thing. And like a lot of my friends that I'd still book shows with and with the Dirty Gems, they're all from, that kind of like a punk rock scene. And initially, that I met years and years ago, some of them still play punk rock. Some of them play different stuff or whatever now, but we all still kind of keep in touch and help each other out. And it's a pretty cool thing to have all that.
Well, and what's cool about that kind of background is it kind of makes you, for me, like, in similar situations, in business and such, like you feel a little bit, oh, what's the word? Um, Unbreakable, I guess. Like you could, like, if everything right now collapsed, maybe some virus hits, who knows? But
Yeah.
but if the world collapsed, or you find yourself like in a weird spot where all of a sudden now Kris Rodgers is in Albuquerque, you know, it's gonna suck. But like you have the confidence, you know what to do to kind of, okay, I know the steps, I know what I got to do, to build something back up, and it'll look different. It'll be different, but I know what it needs to look like, and I know how to do it. And that kind of confidence is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, for sure. And, I've seen it happen to me. I've saw other people say that, kind of would have that confidence, and me be like, oh, really? I don't think so. Like just touring in general, I never had really ever been able to figure out how to book a tour in any capacity. And I remember like joining those punk bands and being like, "Oh, we're gonna go on a 3-week tour of Europe," and I was like, "Yeah, right." like, like, you mean we're going on vacation and we're gonna pay for it? Like, and it didn't end up being like that. Like we went multiple times, to Europe and toured like every country over there, and
Wow.
didn't we had our plane tickets paid for eventually and stuff, and it just became, once you see, like, there's all these like little victories really that happen. And every time you get one, it just you learn something, but it builds your confidence, like you were saying. And you can just I don't have any problems now booking pretty much from like here to Wisconsin for the most part, from
Yeah.
Maine to Wisconsin, and a lot of places down to Florida. So like there sometimes if I have to go to like a new market, it can get tricky for a minute, like a week or two, while I'm trying to like put feeler emails out and get everything rolling. But for a lot of it, it's just, once you do the hard work the first time, you can, hit people up the next time, as long as you weren't like a jerk or something like that.
Right. There is something about, not being a jerk in life that opens doors.
Yeah,
So,
right. For sure.
well, I wanted to ask you also, by the way, you got your guys' album, Still Dirty. I wanted to ask you, you've got a great cover, Take Me to the Pilot, Elton John tune. It's really amazing. And I want to ask you, like, how do you approach doing a cover? You've done tons, you've done a million covers, I know, but like when you're gonna actually put it out on an album, what's your approach to doing that?
Yeah, I think that half the band really approaches it like, let's make this thing really different in our own. I'm not part of that half. I just I don't even care. I mean, it's not, I don't have a thing of, it's not like I don't have an opinion either way really on it. I just kind of go into it and do it. Mostly because I've usually already played the song a little bit,
Yeah.
just because it's my band. So like Take Me to the Pilot, I've been playing it for over 10 years, and so I kind of play it the way I play it now. But this particular cover we took from a live version that Elton did on a record called 171170,
Okay.
and which is just a date, but it's a live concert from November 17th, 1970. But it's a radio show. If you've never heard it, it's like, I think it's like one of the best live albums ever.
I don't think I have heard that. I gotta check that out.
It like, it's, I don't think it's the best live album ever, but it's like up there. You can put it up there with like any Allman Brothers record or like Zappa record or live records, just the so good. And there was only 3 of them at the time, because it was just Elton, D. Murray on bass, and Nigel Olsson played drums. Who still plays drums with Elton. D. Murray died, but But like Elton's also still like today has like the same band he had back then, which is really cool.
That is really cool.
But they sound like 5 or 6 people. Like it's crazy how good they sound. And Elton is still at the point in his career where he's really aggressive on the piano, kind of like an early Ben Folds sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's just like really hitting the piano and like have it. Sometimes he has like his entire palm down, just slamming the keys, just no notes.
Right.
Just making noises and stuff like that. And that for me, because I'm a pretty aggressive piano player too, and so I love that kind of stuff. And they played "Take Me to the Pilot." They played a really cool cover, "A Honky Tonk Woman," that's like kind of rivals the Stones version of it. And they do like, if you're a big Elton fan, they do like "Burn Down the Mission," and they do like I don't know what it is, like a 15-minute version of it with like all these other songs in between. They do like "Get Back" by the Beatles in the middle of "Burn Down the Mission." Like it's a big improv thing. And
I
Elton,
love playing "Burn Down the Bitch." That's one of my favorite songs to play. It's such a great tune.
so good, yeah. And like it's amazing how they like they've never. I think that they played like this a lot back then, but like I've seen Elton a few years ago, and they don't. He does a little bit every once in a while. He'll give you something like a flavor that's off like this live record, but back then it was like this for every song.
Yeah.
And it's a radio show, so there's like 50 people maybe in the audience, and like you hear this guy announce them first. He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, for ABC Radio, Elton John," and they just come out and
That's awesome.
and like there's like a little like clapping or whatever, and they just come out and completely blow these people away. But anyways, "Take Me to the Pilot" is on it, and we do basically the same type of version that the live Elton band did.
Okay.
And "Take Me to the Pilot" for me has been one of my favorite songs ever since I was a kid. I'm from the country, really, if you want to think about it like that. Like, I grew up a half hour away from Portland, but Portland's not even really a city either. It's more just like a big town,
Okay.
So I've always kind of identified with Elton because Elton was more of a redneck compared to Billy.
Right. Yeah. Billy was Mr. New York, and Elton was honky tonk, man.
Yeah, and Elton, got fab or whatever, like after "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road." But before that, he was really kind of like had a lot of country influences and a lot of, Americana stuff, like "Burn Down the Mission," and he's got "Country Comfort" that is one of his tunes or whatever off that same record. And so for me, and "Take Me to the Pilot" is off his, I think it's his second record, is like self-titled Elton John record, and it's like a honky tonk awesome rock song or like soul song. I don't really know how to like totally describe it, but I've always loved that song, always wanted to play it. And when Ryan Halliburton joined the band, he plays bass. He's really into "Take Me to the Pilot" too, and he kind of pushed a little bit to play it. And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it." And it just kind of happened. I really couldn't be. I'm so glad I waited 10 years to play it with the band, just because I think that this configuration of the band is the configuration to play it, and it has the right spirit. But
no, there's something special about your guys' rendition. It's really cool. And Halliburton on bass, man, he kills it when he hits those chords. Oh man, it makes me rumble.
Yeah.
It's good.
He's a guitar, like he's an artist himself. Like he puts records out and plays. He has tons of gigs himself. He's the front man. He plays guitar and sings. But he's like this secret bass weapon that like nobody really knows about, like at least around town, because I always saw him as a guitar player, singer.
Okay.
And I actually saw him filling in on bass for a gig for a friend of mine, and I was like, "Oh, wow, we need a bass player. What are you doing?"
Yeah, seriously, like he's very good, and he does compliment your. I saw a couple of your live shows. As I got into you guys, I saw those on YouTube that you guys put out, and yeah, he's good, and it's fun to see you guys play. I definitely love the vibe. You can tell that you guys have a ton of experience playing live, and that at your heart, you are a live band. Trying to do that, and I think that's a man. It's great to have something that's not overproduced, but is really well crafted and skilled.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And I do think most of our cohesion and stuff that we do that is considered good anyway is comes down to that, just that we've all, like, Ryan's been playing, he's been playing as a full-time musician, playing songs and doing like the bar scene for like 20 years, something like that. He's played like every kind of style in song you can think of, and same with Tom. He's been doing the same thing, and I played dueling pianos, and or the dueling piano show that people go to see.
Yeah. Those are
So
fun.
I've done like those and stuff, and like we've all like, if you think about, Tom and I played in a karaoke band for like 4 or 5 years.
That'll get your chops going.
Yeah, like, man, that was the hardest. We talk about that sometimes, and it was like one of the roughest gigs I've ever been a part of, and it was every week that we had to do it.
Oh man.
It was like we had to know like upwards of like 300 songs on a dime, and like the thing that would happen was that if we knew the song really well, like if the band really knew the song well, we'd have a terrible singer singing it.
Right.
And like all the really great singers only came up and picked songs that we'd never played. So
they're like, can you guys play Limelight?
luckily we didn't play Limelight. Oh man. Although if I probably would have had a pretty easy part playing like one
you probably would
note or something. But I remember, we used to play When Doves Cry by Prince.
Right.
And it's like, why are we even doing this song? Like, why is it on the list? There's no bass in the whole song whatsoever. It's just drums and keyboards. And at the time, I had like a $400 or $500 keyboard, which sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. It's terrible. It's a bad keyboard. It was a Casio Privia. I'm looking at it right now. It's like hanging up. It's like leaning up against the wall. It's been,
dude, that's a classic, man.
It's been leaning. Yeah, it's been leaning against the wall for like 10 years now, I think. But I still have it. But
does it have the speakers in the front, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Right
I
on.
actually put a bumper sticker. I don't know if you guys have Narragansett beer out there, but there's a Massachusetts beer called Narragansett.
Okay.
And their whole motto is "High Neighbor." That's like, so I have a High Neighbor sticker over the Privia, where the Privia thing was on the Casio.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to know. I was like, this is like a rough
Playing
situation. But like,
anyway,
those basement shows and stuff I was talking about, this keyboard was the keyboard doing all that back then anyways. But yeah, so we used to make fun of this keyboard, and we'd say it had authentic sounds because it like literally never had the right sound for the song that we were playing. But so we would play like When Doves Cry, which is all keyboards, and like a pretty crazy keyboard synth solo, which the guy that played on the Prince record didn't even play it live. It's all sequenced through MIDI and stuff. And so, and it's like a 5-minute long song or something like that. And we'd get up there and it'd just be the singer just killing it. And then there's me, the only person playing any sort of like chords or anything for this person to sing. And I'm just destroying it, playing everything wrong. And, and like, it's just, it's unbelievable. I remember like Kurt Baker, who's also on Wicked Cool, he played in the same karaoke band for a little while. And I remember one time somebody asked for Lights by Journey, and Kurt walked right over to me on the stage, and he's like, "Hey man, what's this song? I never heard it." And I was like, one, dude, it's on the list. It's 2, how do you go through life without ever hearing Lights by Journey? And so like I start like singing him the song. I'm like, dude, like when the lights go out, and he's like, never heard it. So we play the song, and it's like Tom, who's in the Dirty Gems, me, and we had like a different drummer, and then Kurt is playing bass. And we play the song, and of course it's just like unbelievably bad. We butcher it and stuff like that. But we got like the guitar line is in there and stuff. And after the song, I like went over to Kurt and I was like, "So you know that song? You know what song we're talking about or whatever?" And he's like, "Nope." Even after. So I was like, "Well, good for you then, man. Like if you missed out,
let me get out my Journey Greatest Hits album and let you lend it to you."
Yeah, we've had same thing. Like we had to play "I Love It When They Call Me Big Papa,"
Yeah.
and by Notorious B.I.G. And I think this was actually like Kurt's first gig when he started filling in. Came like he was like took over as the new bass player. Same thing. It's just me, him, and a drummer up there, and both of us had no idea how the song went. Like no clue. And
Right.
the that sample I know how to play it now, but like that sample that's used is a pretty intense chord progression. It's not like something that you can just kind of like pull out of nowhere and fake it. So I don't know what we played, but somebody rapped I love it when they call me Big Papa over just these random chords that we decided to play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like just like a lot of situations like that have helped out, and it's weird that we all have come back to play together in other bands and stuff like that. Like Kurt is the first band I toured in Europe with, Kurt's band.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and but we, he actually lives in Spain now, but we both grew up here in Portland or whatever. But it's like, yeah, it's just like a weird kind of like path to take in life or whatever, and you just gotta sort of do what you can as it comes.
Right.
But they help out as far as your playing goes, and I got a lot. I can be on stage and not laugh at somebody for a good amount of time before I break. Now
That's a skill.
Because of karaoke, yeah, like unbelievable. Sometimes most of the time it wasn't the singer's fault; it's the band, laughing at ourselves. But
Right.
You got to try to make them feel like you know what you're doing and you're not ruining their experience.
Oh man. Well, Kris, I want to thank you, man. This has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed talking to you. This is Kris Rodgers from Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems. You can find him at Kris Rodgers. By the way, that's with a K and with a D, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a very common name spelled uncommonly.
Right. So KrisRodgers.com. I'll definitely have those in the show notes. Check out Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems, their new album, Still Dirty. And definitely if you're in the Boston area, if you're in New Jersey, if you're in Portland, check them out. They're a lot of fun. Check out their YouTube channel too, man. You got some good stuff up there. Some not just stuff with the band, but you got some solo stuff up there. You got some rock history. I saw it's pretty cool.
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, for sure. And we've got more. We're working on some more videos right now too.
That's cool.
Yeah, Ryan has a green screen and stuff, so that's like how we made some of the other videos. But we've got
I saw the video for, is it I'm Your Man? Is that the name of it?
Oh yeah, we have a video for that. Yeah,
that was a great video. That was a lot of that looked like you guys had a fun time putting together.
That's my girlfriend in the video, and she had to have I don't know how to say this over a podcast. She had to have stuff in her system to get her to do it. And the bottle is like in the video a couple times. But needless to say, what is that cinnamon whiskey called?
The
Fireball, I think.
Fireball.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. We were supposed to be like sharing it. I never got any of it though.
By the way, that was a pretty funny scene.
Yeah, she was like so nervous to do the video though. So she was great. I'm really happy she did it. Yeah, but usually I don't usually make her do anything like that. So
it turned out good, man. That was a lot of fun. But I hope guys who are listening, check him out. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. Obviously, if you listen, he's a lot of fun to listen to. He's got a great. By the way, we haven't even talked about your voice. Your voice is really great, man. I really dig it. Thank you. Really soulful. Sounds amazing. I hope you guys will check out the new album "Still Dirty" by Kris Rodgers and the Dirty Gems. Thanks for being on. Let's do it. I would love to have you on again sometime, man.
Yeah, Mike, I would love to be on again, and thanks for having me anytime. I would come back whenever you would let me.
Hey, well, maybe we'll do it. After your little November jaunt, and we can talk about touring post COVID.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm sure I'll have some stuff to say about that for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but not at the same time.
Right. Yeah. No, it's good. It'll be interesting. But thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is Mike Levitt, and you guys have been listening to And If Love Remains.